Get the technology straight. All right. Give me a second. We're gonna have a good show. We're gonna have a good show for everybody watching on the replay.
Everyone who hates
All right, cool. All right. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I I wish I had better news today. Um, it's a great show I got lined up for everybody. However, the information is very sinister. Uncle Andy was good, man. Nah. I seen you. I was looking for your comment, so I could let you know I didn't go nowhere. They just gave me a slap on the wrist. This is what I was saying. We have to switch up what we talk about sometime because they gave me the slap on the wrist and said, we there's certain entities that are kind of too big for a small channel like mine to take on. And shout out to Candace Owens. She did a very it was a brave show, but I can't do it. You understand? She did a show yesterday where she was basically exposing the CIA. Um, what I notice is they treat YouTube channels with different subscribers differently because the impact, I guess, like for Russell Brand, you can't just bully Russell Brand, right? Russell Brand got how many millions of subscribers now? So if you did something nefarious because he was telling the truth, it would take it to Reddit and then it would get crazy really fast. And just like the Doji coin was created basically out of nothing. And I love that example about Dogecoin because it really shows how much power the people have. You understand? Dogecoin came out of nowhere. it was that was the most ridiculous thing ever. Dogecoin was a meme. It was just a meme that the Reddit community said, "Oh, you want to play games? Now we're going to use our power to just push it." You know what I'm saying? Like the same thing they did with GameStop, GameStop stock. Remember that? I know life goes fast and we forget all of these things, but nah, they did the same thing over there. They pushed that stock up, and I was so proud of people. You know what I'm saying? I really was, man. I was just, yo, push it. And GameStop, there was no value in it like that. The people pushed it. This is what I was saying before. We really have a lot of power at our disposal. We don't use it right. We don't use it right. But even though today's show is about the well, I'm jumping around a lot, and I'm going to go back to Candace Owens for a second. But even though today's show is about the Jesuits' orders, the Jesuits' involvement in the Iran Contra scandal, I had no idea. I had no idea that they even had like this. Yo, there's a lot of information that's going to come out today, and I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna have fun with the day. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever happens, happens. Before we get started on that though, I went to bed. I had crazy dreams, crazy visions about the future. So what brought this on was the fact that all those migrants that came into the country, the United States cut them off. They cut their funding. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. Um, I'm gonna tell you why that's crazy in a second. Let me see if I can find the. Oh, I'm gonna put the link to the Discord in the chat. What is going on here? Okay, put the link to the Discord in the chat. Why can't I? Give me a second, y'all. I'll be here for a while, so I'm not even in a rush. There we go. There we go. All right. Here we go. So check this out. U.S. won't extend legal status for 500 and first of all, that number's crazy. That's not the number. That's not the number, right? So, um, this came out October 4th. That's not the number. Why? These are the type of games that they play. But anyway, I'm gonna take it slow today. U.S. won't extend legal status for 530,000 migrants who arrived under the Biden program. Um, Give me a second. There. Not for nothing. There was 2 million allegedly, minimum 10 million migrants that were allowed in this country. Yesterday I did a show about guns and should we give up guns. It was a rhetorical question. I wasn't asking. I just wanted to see your thoughts on it because you actually have people running around saying, "Yeah, we don't need guns. Like, why do we need it?" And I think, listen, you're gonna find out what I think today. I promise you. Um, this is some very this there are some severe mentally ill people in the United States that's easily brainwashed, easily. But if you wanted to know why you should have your guns, right? Because you felt like we were safer without guns. How are we safe if you let in, let's just go with the 10 million. You want to do that? How are we safe if you let in 10 million migrants and to give them a kickstart, you was giving them $1,000. You gave them a little Visa card, gift card. You've refilled it $1,000 a month. They live better than they probably ever lived ever anywhere, right? They probably really felt like, yo, this is. I always heard about the American dream. I never thought it was true. I'm actually here. I'm living the American dream. I'm getting free hotels. I'm getting free food. You understand? My children are in school. They're seeing doctors. All of that. And then you just cut them off abruptly after they already stationary in these cities. Whoa. What? Yo, let me tell you something. Party's about to get started somewhere. A whole party is about to get started somewhere. And I don't know how you expect those people. What did you expect? You expect them to go back to where they came from? That's not gonna happen, right? So either two things are gonna happen. Thinking logically and critically, one, the crime rate is definitely gonna go up. Like I don't see all these people just having skill sets that are necessary that we ourselves didn't see and wasn't utilizing, right? There's only so many landscapers that we need, and besides, it's winter, right? So you can't send all of these people to Texas and Florida for landscaping in Arizona, right? It's I don't. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the prisons, on the welfare system, on all of our resources. That is what I was talking about in the first place. Nobody wanted to have those type of conversations. Everybody was talking about all type of LGBTQ stuff, loans for black men, or all type of stuff that did not make sense. You know, yes, black community, we need support, but we also, and white, I'm talking to black and white community, we have to realize that we share this land, and all other nations too, uh, all other people that come from different nations here. We share this space, right? This community space. So as much as, yeah, we want resources and they need, you want resources for white farmers. You want resources for black urban people. Like I get I get that. But you cannot be blinded by false hopes and wishes, right? Somebody just lying to you and telling you stuff over and over again to make you do something, and then they forget about you every time. Like they do this every time, and you just can't keep falling for it. You have to think about the best interest for the entire country. You have to. You can't. Yeah. Now look at this, man. And it hasn't. It's not gonna hit yet. We're gonna feel it because you can't let 10 million migrants in here and then cut them off financially and think you're not gonna feel it. Oh, we will feel it. Anyway, I took some notes because I knew I would be jumping around, right? But I had to touch on that because my spirit, man, it was down because I spoke about this yesterday. Why I have guns and why I moved to the mountains. I literally live in the mountains. You have to drive up a mountain to get to my house. I live in the mountains, bro. Yeah. This was on purpose. I want to see you coming a mile away so I can pick you off as you come up the mountain. This was done on purpose. And not really making light of the situation or trying to scare anybody in the city. But bro, it's gonna be. I mean, they was already talking about the Venezuelan gangs taking over in different Chicago areas and different New York areas. What's gonna happen now, bro? What's gonna happen now that you done took away there? It's gonna get silly. It's gonna get silly. All right. Before we get into our main show, which is the Jesuit involvement, and we'll go over who the Jesuits are, the Society of Jesus. I had no idea their involvement in the Iran Contra scandal, and these are facts. It's like what? Two people that I love, Judge Joe Brown and Daniel Sheenan. They're both lawyers, right? Judge Joe Brown is a judge, but Daniel Sheenan is an attorney. And I guess they're privy to more knowledge than we've ever had, and they're older now. So in their old age, they just been coming out here just saying whatever's on their mind, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? Um, thanks, man. That's the glorious content, man. Yo, thank you, bro. Green Bean said, "Yo, they got to deal with people like me," and they probably do. Green Bean, you probably out here for your survival. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against them. But you have to do. It's the survival of the fittest. It's Darwinism, bro. So it's. I mean, I don't know if you're saying anything wrong. You understand? Are you going to sit there and not eat? You understand? This is survival, bro. Don't think that when I shoot someone like you, Green Bean, that I don't understand your situation. Oh, I understand your situation well. I just understand my situation more. You know what I'm saying? I just understand my situation more. You understand? So everybody gotta everybody gotta survive. You know what I'm saying? You're coming for my food, and I'm not gonna let you, or you're gonna get my food. You understand? But I trained my daughter to shoot. This is why. Because I heard a day like this might come. And I thought it was all conspiracy theory. You understand? I kind of knew it wasn't the direction we was going in, but they keep telling us, and this is a segue into my next topic, and it's gonna bug you out. One of the one of their tactics is to put out disorienting information, right? So they'll put out false information and real information. And the only thing that's really worse than a lie is the truth mixed with a lie. The truth mixed with a lie is worse than a lie. I promise you. right? A lie you could probably figure out very fast and you get to the bottom of it. But when you have an entity that's putting out multiple stories, you don't know where, you don't even know where to start. This is what the government has been doing. So they come out with these things called, they call us conspiracy theories because we believe in certain things. But this is what I discovered, and it's crazy. This morning, I looked up. I remember right before 2020, the government had announced that extraterrestrial existence was a real thing, right? It had got overshadowed by what had happened in 2020. But I seen the article, and at that time, my page wasn't even, I don't know. I don't know if I had 27 people on my page at that time. So I couldn't really make a big deal out of it like a Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson. Like I did what I could, and I don't know how many people I reached, but it fell on deaf ears. And I'm like, yo, the government finally confirmed that extraterrestrial life, like, is present. And nobody, I get it. There was a lot of people, but then I thought that was strategic because I'm like, what a time to announce that. What a time to announce that alien life is amongst us. This is coming from the government. This is not like on PBS or something. This is coming from the DOD. Like, what a time to announce that when they know that nobody's going to be listening, right? Cool. So this morning, as I'm preparing for my show, I go to get the resources, and I know what I read. I'm very secure, but I type in the Pentagon instead of typing in the DOD. And the Pentagon is like, nah, I don't know what you talk about. There's never. Hold on, let me show you. I'm gonna show you what I read from the Pentagon, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about, bro? Give me a second. Yep, that's one website. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. So I punched in the Pentagon, and it got me looking crazy. It say in March 2024, the Pentagon released a 63-page report that found no evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology in UFO sightings. I said, what in the world? What did I read? I said, what did I read? I felt crazy. I had to go to um, Gemini. AI Gemini didn't help me. AI Gemini is very biased. I just want y'all to know that. So just use different AIs because certain AIs is not going to help you depending on what the topic is. Anything with politics, anything that is with the government, don't expect AI Gemini to help you out like that. Chat GPT barely helped me out. But if you know something, then you could remind it, and then Chat GPT will apologize, and it'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right, my bad." Like it does that all the time. Like you right, and then they give you the information. So as you guys are using these AIs, don't think that it's going to tell you the truth every last time. You have to still do your due diligence, right? But I used AI. I'm like, yo, wasn't there a situation in 2019? ChatGPT tells me the truth. They're like, yeah, it was a situation like that. So what is going on? ChatGPT says that was the Department of Defense that came out and said that. Now, my thing is this: why aren't these agencies talking to each other, and why are they giving us conflicting information? That is my thing, right? Give me a second. Now, here's one website where it says Pentagon launches one-stop shop for declassified info about UFOs. But I went to the one-stop shop. I went to this site, and they basically saying that nothing was found. Like it's all just in our head. So I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like I don't know. Then I go to the DOD. Give me a second. I keep on looking, and I find U.S. recovered non-human biologics from UFO crash sites. Former intel official says, and then you have actual people down here that are from the government that's kind of like blowing the whistle. Give me a second. Sorry, blowing the whistle and telling the truth. So I don't. Again, I don't know why y'all keep saying these things are conspiracy theories. But I do know you want mass psychosis. You want us to be so disoriented and so fatigued, like mentally fatigued of trying to play catch up. But my show, I base my show around just the authenticity of reality, right? I don't want it just to be like searching for likes and searching for views, right? Look what they do today, right? It's not a lot of people in here because I'm not talking about policy. I'm not talking about Trump or Harris. Monday I will be talking about Trump, and then the numbers going to shoot up something stupid. But if I keep on doing content to chase numbers, then I'm not going to keep it real to myself. Then I don't keep it real to you. Then I'm no good to you, right? So it can't be all monetary gain. Some things have to be just integrity driven. They just have to be integrity driven. Today's show, today's show actually was supposed to be about extraterrestrial life, but I was taking it from a historical standpoint, right? I was going to take the text and kind of show everybody how in different texts throughout history we've always spoken about extraterrestrial life. We just never called it that. And then this whole thing just turned into something else, and I'm like, what the hell? It got crazy. So we're gonna listen to Daniel Sheenan today. Let me show you who Daniel Sheenan is before we even do that. This guy, I was always amazed at this guy, man. He knows, he's been around. He's a federal civil rights attorney, right? This is his website. This is Daniel Sheenan is a graduate of Harvard College in the fields of government and international relations, and he is a Harvard school trained constitutional something of the other. Here we go. All right, here we go. Daniel Sheenan is a Harvard College, Harvard Law School, Harvard Divinity School trained constitutional litigation and appellate attorney. That's a lot, Daniel. But you're gonna hear him talk. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss him talk. He's man. He's saying a lot. For close to 5 decades, Danny's work as a federal civil rights attorney, author, public speaker, and college and law school professor has helped expose the structural sources of injustice in our country and around the world. Now, I had to let you know who he was because when he starts talking and you hear the crazy stuff that's coming out of his mouth, just know that he's validated to talk like that, right? He can say such. I didn't want you to think you're just listening to a quack because I'm about to play the audio. No. Daniel been around, man. He's one of my favorites. Him and Judge Joe Brown. Right now, they're one of my favorites, right? So let me just kind of like address everybody. Well, my name is Jamel Saladin. This is the Poker Face Society. We believe that critical thinking is absolutely critical over here. This morning we will be talking about the Jesuit involvement in the Iran Contra scandal, as well as the alien archives in the Vatican, right? So we will be talking about these things. And first of all, let me give respect where respect is due. Um, the audio is coming from Julian Dory's podcast. So we probably won't get through the whole podcast, but you can hear the whole thing on Julian Dory's podcast, right? With Daniel Sheenan, right? So that being said, I would like to let's just get into this audio, and I will be stopping to break down and really because there's a lot to unpack. Your man is just going crazy.
So you do a big UFO discussion today on campus, which actually, like, what did that entail? You're trying to get it as a part of the educational
Yeah,
curriculum?
we're trying to get it into the academy, the general university community to say, look at this is silly that that now that the United States Defense Department has acknowledged that they've been lying all this time in hiding this stuff, and you got testimony coming in from the people directly involved in the top secret program, acknowledging that the government's in possession of a non-human origin extraterrestrial spacecraft, and the bodies that they've now confirmed are non-human. You would think that would have some impact on the university.
Yet, when I looked up this morning, I just looked this up. I says Pentagon released information about extraterrestrials. Google AI says in March 2024, the Pentagon released 63-page report that found no evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology in UFO sightings. What are you talking about? So, my point is this. And we're going to have I'm here for the day. You understand? So I'm taking my time talking. Corporations and government should not be that aligned. Something's wrong, right? So when I feel, from looking hindsight, when government feels like it doesn't have that much control over the corporation, it starts giving these corporations subsidies and all type of grants, right? And this is like to butter the companies up, because if that grant is big enough, if that money is big enough, they're going to let you get hooked on it. And then now when I say get hooked on it, you're going to actually adjust your business model to that budget, right? So you start hiring all these different people. You're going to get these resources over here that you always wanted, this, that, and the third. That's what they want you to do, so that you can't live without it. Now they got you. If you don't want to play ball, we're going to snatch the funding and you can go back to the streets, because you definitely can't survive off of the overhead that you've accumulated. Right? It's a trick. There should not be this type of relationship amongst these technocrats, but amongst these big corporations. And we'll see why once we get into the show, going back to the banana wars, right, and the United Fruit Company. That should have been a lesson right then and there, because these fruit company CEOs and all these other corporations that were utilizing land in foreign countries, right? Instead of handling business the right way, what did they do? They wanted the United States to change foreign policy so that they can benefit, so that their company basically could benefit from that, right? And then what did we do? We actually got involved. We actually got involved in this, and it wasn't good for the people at the end of the day. So I don't know about democracy, right? Because we the people never asked for these things. We the people never asked to be taken advantage of. All of that has to do with corporations and kickbacks on a higher level, and that has nothing to do with the common person. That has nothing to do with the common man. But let's keep listening. You're listening to Daniel Sheenan, federal civil rights attorney, and activist.
They ought to be kind of teasing some courses about getting ready for this, but they haven't yet. So we went over to Yale and got invited over there by some of the professors. So we went over and did a presentation today to the student body.
What professors, if you don't mind me asking?
One of the professors of philosophy. There was one of the professors of two professors of philosophy, in fact. One of them was an East Asian philosophy professor, and the other was an American Western philosophy guy. And then they had the student body that was, they have a UFO student organization there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that they sponsored it. So it was the students themselves that asked us to come. And they had professors from a couple different universities. Ohio State University, a professor was there. They had a professor from University in Albany, so they had a group of people there, and then I briefed them all on what was going on in Washington with the legislation and the hearings and the stuff like that.
Yeah, I see it all sitting right there. We're
Yes.
going to get into it today.
Yeah.
But now you're back in Hoboken, straight off
Yeah,
Yale.
it was hard to stay away. It's hard to stay away.
Well, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. There's a lot to get into. Our first episode, we basically went through every single conspiracy of the 60s and 70s that you lived through.
Uh-huh.
It was pretty incredible.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm sure there will be other cases that come up today as well that didn't come up yesterday, but specifically with ufology and the space of what's going on in our skies, you have been around this since, I believe you said, the Jimmy Carter administration.
Yeah, it was the fall of '76, right after the November election, that I got contacted.
And you had explained this quickly in our last podcast, but for people who didn't hear that,
Sure.
Why did he contact you?
Well, what happened is that President Carter, when he was the governor of Georgia, had seen a UFO back in 1969. He was at a Lions Club, a speech that he was giving as the governor, and they went over to the restaurant for dinner, and there was a UFO right in the sky. It was like the two lengths of a football field away. I mean, it wasn't like a mysterious light in the sky or anything. It was like a full UFO, and he saw it. 11 men saw it with him. He filed an official report with the U.S. Air Force and with NICAP. So when he ended up getting elected president, it turns out he was elected on November 4th of 1976. On the 19th of November, he was still down in Plains, Georgia. He hadn't even come to Washington yet. That he sent word to have the head of the Central Intelligence Agency come down to Plains, Georgia, and brief him on the UFO issue. And it turns out that the CIA director at that time was George H.W. Bush, and that he refused to brief him, saying that he, as the president-elect, he had no need to know.
I mean, I don't know if I disagree with Herbert Bush there. You understand? I don't. Yeah, first of all, you got to make it to the presidency. You know what I'm saying? So I can't disagree with Herbert Bush there. And you guys can feel how you gonna feel. You understand? But as the director of the CIA, I don't know if I should be. You wasn't even sworn in yet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of obnoxious on your part to think you could just you won the electoral vote, but let's go through with the whole process. Let's go through the whole process, and then we'll get you settled in with this type of information. You understand? Mess around, there's still some time between here and there. You get arrested for stealing out of CVS or Walgreens or something. You understand? We gotta watch you. We don't know your vices. You may not be able to control yourself. You ever see rich people that like to steal? Like millionaires, but they just steal out of like CVS's and stuff like that. You understand? And that's on the lighter side of vices. You could have had some other crazier vices that you get caught for that you never even reach in inauguration, and now we done told you about the aliens. So I kind of get George Bush there. I gotta get George Bush there.
This information, which surprised President Carter. And so Carter, rather than taking on the CIA and spending a lot of newly earned political capital, just contacted the Congress and said, "What's the story here? I've been elected president. We're supposed to know about this? Can you tell me what the documents are that we've got?" And so that they referred it to the Science and Technology Committee of the House of Representatives, and they contacted the Congressional Research Service, which is this big professional service research operation they have at the Library of Congress. And so they set up a special investigation and research project. Now, I didn't know anything about it when it happened. I mean, I had met Carter.
First of all, shout out JLW. I can't see the so everyone forgive me because I cannot see the comments on my phone. I have the screen open. If you see me looking over here, I'm looking over here at the comments because I'm not going to do another show. For whatever reason, YouTube just stopped showing me the comments on my phone, right? But I don't think they like the way I do my show. That's okay. You guys love it. I love it. We got a great show set up for you today. We're going to hear a lot. We're listening to Daniel Sheenan, federal civil rights attorney. He didn't even start. He didn't even get busy yet. So he's about to get busy. So that's what we're listening to. But I'm seeing one of my subscribers in the house, JLW, man. He was sick. Was praying for his health. I had just got over something, and I do think it was COVID. You understand? It was a harsh. It felt like pneumonia. I had this before when I had freaking COVID. I got COVID before. I couldn't breathe. I went to the hospital. They told me I had pneumonia. I was in the hospital for like 5 days. They wanted to keep me longer, but I think they was just trying to take advantage of my insurance. And the nurse kept on telling me, like, nah, we have to get you out of here, right? She was the one that was telling me, nah, we're going to get you out of here. So she got my breathing up. She was like, they're not going to let you out unless you get your breathing up to at least, high 90s. My oxygen was down in the 80s, man. Like I think I had hit 86. It was down there. And we got it back up to 99. She gave me some breathing exercises. The main thing was to lay on your stomach. So I'm not sure if I should be giving advice on these type of things. They may say misinformation and disinformation. So let me say for me, the main thing for me was to lay on my stomach so that because when I laid on my back, the fluid in my lungs built up. And then that's when the coughing and all that stuff. But when I laid on my stomach, which was uncomfortable, it was different. And I got better within that time frame, man. So I'm glad he's back. But he said something pretty interesting over here. And I got a lot of people from like ex-military over here. A lot of ex-military over here. And they really support this channel. So thank you for your service. That's number one. And I really hate that they gamble with our lives. I do. You guys put your life on the line. And it's like getting you into the service. They do anything in the world, right? And to make it seem more glamorous. And not that you get nothing when you get out. If you get out, it depends how you get out. You know what I'm saying? You get an honorary discharge or whatever. You probably get the GI Bill. You get the lifetime insurance. You get things. But even with that, lifetime insurance. Walter Reed Hospital was a freaking mess for how long? For like a decade. They might have did some reconstruction. But my whole point is this. For that hospital to have been dilapidated the way it was disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? You don't do that the resources are here to maintain certain things that are sacred. Now, you always training us to respect the soldiers and all of this, and you always complain like you act like they're in your best interest. But then what do? You give them body armor that's cheap and bullets could go through, right? Because you wanted to purchase cheap body armor. Like these are the type of things that you're talking out both sides of your mouth. It's disrespectful. You get over here and it's homeless veterans. Yeah, okay, so he might have got on drugs. I don't even know if your involvement had anything to do with him getting on drugs. You understand? He could have been traumatized by something you did over there to him or her. Then they get back over here. Yeah, I don't know. Now, I'm not saying that you did. I don't know if your involvement has something to do with his condition, his or her. So I stop at the light. You understand? They're not allowed to squeegee anymore, but they may be asking for some change or whatever the case may be. And I just don't know how you have money for all these migrants. And there's anybody with a honorable DD-14 should be automatically given assistance. Never homeless. Never homeless. Never homeless. It's disrespectful. And never mind all that bureaucratic red tape where you got to go see some underpaid fat woman who's already disgruntled about her life, and now she didn't want to come to work anyway, and then she's the one that's supposed to be dealing with this. She don't really want to deal with it. She acting like she the grand Caesar of all. Nobody want to deal with all that, but you do these things on purpose thinking nobody gonna catch on, bro. Right? So now he's frustrated. He or her is frustrated. They go back out. They start using heroin in the street. I'd rather deal with that. I'm not dealing with this fat lady in here talking crazy to me. These are the things that happen. Former Marine General Major Smelly Butler came to the understanding that war is a racket. See? And we usually don't get this epiphany until we've either entered into the military already, which is, it's honorable. It is honorable to have entered into the military and fight for your country. But what is disappointing is when you find out who you're fighting for. You're fighting for spineless charlatans who would never, I don't know. I don't know how you could be an ex-military person and then put people through these type of things so that you can gain money, knowing that they could die, bro. There's supposed to be a certain spirit of camaraderie. You guys know what I'm trying to say. My pronunciation is off there, but camaraderie amongst all military personnel. Now, yes, there is a friendly rival amongst against Army, Marine, Navy. There's a friendly rival, right? You're going to be proud of the squad that you got down with. But at the end of the day, we're all fighting the same fight. Zin Yang, what's going on, bro? Wow, JLW, that's crazy. I see Trish in the house. Good morning, Trish. Get out of here, JLW. That's crazy. Yo, JL, did you get the Discord? Let me drop the Discord right here. Drop the Discord right here, bro. I think that's the Discord. David, what's up? I think that's the Discord. Again, my social media manager passed away abruptly. And he handled all of this stuff. So I have to relearn this stuff. Right? And coincidentally enough, ironically, I called him the general. So I'm really relearning all this stuff, but that's the Discord in the chat right there. Shout out to everybody. If you're just coming in, we're listening to federal civil rights attorney Daniel Sheenan, right? I had no idea he had this much involvement in so much stuff. Just so happens, He was part of the Jesuit order, but he's really going in. He's really telling a lot in this interview right here, right? So we're listening to him. Please have patience because in the next 5 minutes is about to get crazy. I promise you, right? And I'm here for the whole day, right? Let's just rock out. Let's go.
When he was a candidate, because I was at Jesuit headquarters down there in Washington D.C. and I was in the public policy office of they call it the social ministry office at the Jesuit headquarters. So I was responsible for helping to formulate the policies of the Jesuit order with regard to all 15 of the cabinet level positions in all 8 of the major federal agencies. And so one afternoon in early May, I guess it was probably, of 1976, I was over in DuPont Circle by where our headquarters is, right on Embassy Row. And I ran into they had a new headquarters there during the primary. It was the Democratic Party primary, and they had the office for candidate Jimmy Carter. So I just popped in and said, look at, I told him who I was, and it turns out that Stu Eisenstadt was there. Stuart Eisenstadt was his director of public policy for his campaign. So we sat down and had a long conversation, and we set up a meeting for candidate Jimmy Carter to come and meet with the heads of all 54 of the major religious denominations that had headquarters in Washington, D.C. And so our office coordinated that, our Jesuit headquarters coordinated that. We set it up over at 100 Maryland Avenue, over at the Methodist Building on Capitol Hill.
I want to stop there. We heard a lot about the Jesuit order. We heard a lot of things that were not good about the Jesuit order. However, when I listened to Daniel Sheenan, it finally brings in a different perspective. Now, critical thinking, part itself. The things that I heard were not awful things, and the things that you will hear today were not awful things. So it got me to thinking. I do remember reading that about the ambiguity. Is that how you said it? Ambiguity. I don't know why I can't pronounce that word, but I do remember reading about the unclear and kind of like resolved and disoriented objective of the Jesuit order, where it was designed in a way to keep everyone off balance, where you didn't know if they were good or if you was trying to come to a resolution, you wouldn't know if they was good or bad, because they were kind of like both, and they would use their initiates and their members to go out and do a plethora of things, right? That could be true. That could be. I don't know. I'm not in the Jesuit order. I read things. If that is true, though, it does not seem like Daniel Sheenan was sent out to do anything devious. He was sent out to do things that we would objectively feel is admirable. Keep on listening.
And we had a long meeting with him. We got him actually in that meeting to agree that if he were elected president, he would issue a presidential executive order cutting off all U.S. military aid to any foreign dictator.
That doesn't sound like anything nefarious. That actually sounds like something that we need right now. Like right now. This is the Jesuit order meeting with the president back then, Jimmy Carter, and their main concern is these dictators in foreign countries. Stop sending them aid. Why are we sending them aid? They're not doing anything good with their people. We have to stop. So I really like their stance, because you're going to hear later on Like they just wanted to be able to sit down and observe the budget and say, you know what? Uh, I don't think that much money needs to be going over there. So, me personally, right now, again, I know some people in here in the Poker Face Society are against the Jesuits, but I have a whole new outlook on the Jesuit and the Society of Jesus. If, and not really if, because he is a representative of the Jesuit order, but it doesn't mean he's the only representative. There could be nefarious representatives of the Jesuit order. So that's a whole different conversation. But we know through his body of work, they can't all be bad. Listening to him.
That was determined to be systematically violating the human rights of his own citizens. And that is the executive order that he did in fact issue when he was elected.
When you say you guys, you're talking specifically about, like, on this case on behalf of, like, the Jesuit community and all the religious.
The Jesuit headquarters. We'd organized a thing called the Washington Interreligious Staff Council. There were 54 major religious denominations that had Washington D.C. offices that would kind of monitor legislation that was going on, et cetera. In briefing their different denominations. And Jesuit headquarters had organized bringing them all together to form a new coalition so that we could set up task forces so that we could not duplicate each other's work. And so that we had that thing set up. So when I happened to meet Stuart Eisenstadt that May of '76, I told him about the group that we had and that we'd be happy to interview Carter, and we did. And so that we formulated this plan to figure out one specific thing that we would ask him. And so we all coordinated that, and we asked him to commit to agreeing to sign such an executive order. And he did, which interestingly enough, ended up being the executive order pursuant to which he cut off all military funding to Anastasio Somoza in Nicaragua later, and the Shah of Iran. So both of those dictatorships fell.
All right, so here's the crazy part. He's about to drop a bombshell, right? But I don't know how old everybody is. I do look at my demographics, and my female demographics is growing finally. It's growing slow, but it's still growing. It was at 17, then we went up to 20. I think it's up at like 22% right now, which is good, right? I have a large majority of people that's older than 45. So if you are older than 45, you should have heard about the things we're talking about. But even 45, you're too young for the banana wars anyway, right? And then less than that, anybody less than that, I don't know what you know. I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you. But I'm here to go over some things because I don't know what you know. All right, so let's first deal with the justice.gov website. It says background on the United States funding of Contras. This is the justice.gov website. In examining the allegations in the Mercury News. All right, you want to know why I gave that face? Because there was a guy by the name of Gary Webb who had kind of figured out the connection between the CIA and the cocaine epidemic in the United States. And as a journalist, he really wanted to put out this information, but the Mercury News was threatened, right? And they really gave him a hard time. It was frustrating for him because he couldn't come out as a journalist and tell the truth. He was defamed, like he was just, his whole life was ruined just for trying to tell the truth. This is another tactic, Project Mockingbird style, where the media, again, throws us off with all these disorienting stories and lies, and they stick together on one accord, right? So they've been telling us for years, just like they've been telling us nothing pretty much about extraterrestrial life. And then when they do say something about extraterrestrial life, one Department of Defense, announces this, and you would think that the Pentagon is the same department, so that the Pentagon is saying something totally different. So you're getting conflicting stories from the same body. It's just really exhausting mentally. You don't know what to think at this point, right? You have people running around. They are telling the truth because they got their sources from the Pentagon, but then you are telling the truth because you got your information from another Department of Defense, and it's like now we're arguing amongst ourselves about what's real and what's not real, and that's what they want, right? This goes back to confusing the language and with the people who was trying to build the Tower of Babel, right? These are old playbooks that they just keep on running on the people, keep on running on the people. But, you know, for them to start, for the Justice Department to start their explanation of the funding of the Contras off with examining the allegations in the Mercury News is nuts, right? So that's nuts because Gary Webb the whole time was telling the truth. So that's crazy. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, let me finish reading this joint for you guys. In examining the allegation in the Mercury News and elsewhere, it is important to understand the timing of the funding of the Contras by the United States. The following dates explain the periods during which the United States government provided funding to the Contras or cut off such funding. Now, I will read this, and then you will listen to Daniel Sheenan, and you tell me who's telling the truth, because Daniel Sheenan said it was really Carter that cut it off, but then they're saying that Reagan take the credit for cutting it off, but we're going to listen. Anastasio Somoza Debayle was the leader of Nicaragua from 1967 until July 1979. So of course I'm gonna be too young to really remember that if I wasn't even born in 1967. I'm born in 1977 during the blackout, when he was overthrown by the Sandinistas. When President Ronald Reagan took office in January 1981, he promptly canceled the final $15 million payment of a $75 million aid package to Nicaragua, which is, I don't know, I think it's conflicting from what I just heard Daniel Sheenan say, but whatever. Reversing the Carter administration's policy towards Nicaragua. On November 17, 1981, President Reagan signed the National Security Directive 17, authorizing provision of covert support to anti-Sandinista forces. On December, why though? Like, that's the question. Why is that? Why was that a priority? Why was that a priority? Why was that a prompt priority? I don't know. Anyway, authorizing provisions of covert support to anti-Sandinista forces. On December 1st, 1981, Reagan signed a document intending to conceal the November 17th authorization of anti-Sandinista operations. What? The document characterized the United States' goal in Nicaragua as that of indicating the flow of arms from Nicaragua to El Salvador, where leftist guerrillas were receiving aid from the Sandinista forces. Now, when you look this up, and I don't know what you guys might have been taught in college or whenever they're going to teach you this, I don't know, high school, whenever, they're going to try to say this has something to do with the Cold War, and that this was pretty much to suppress communism. But that's not what it really was, in my opinion, right? Because, and it could have been. You have to use your own critical thinking. In my opinion, you had a company called the United Fruit Company down there in South America and the Latin countries that was really utilizing a lot of land to do business, right? And they were really changing the economy in these they were affecting the economy in these Latin countries, and everything wasn't good for the natives in these lands, right? So they were started to receive some resistance. This is the banana wars, right? So then those companies asked the United States to get involved and change policy around. And we were using, again, immature adults, right? That can't be trusted. Nothing like the forefathers of this country. Nothing at all. We use the American purse to secure the interests of capitalists. And that's just not what our democracy is for. That's not what our money, and I say our because you borrow this money from the Federal Reserve banks based off of us as an asset in the portfolio of America, right? Once you're giving a birth certificate, once you're giving a social security number, you are now an asset as far as the United States is concerned. And part of the promissory note that they will pay back the Federal Reserve. This is how you're going to get your money back, through these new people that were born. And when they go to work, we're going to take a percentage of their check and give it straight to you. And then they run off and do the most nefarious things with the money. So it's kind of like going to a mega church, and you're really going there because you need hope, and you actually think in your heart that if you pray long enough, that will bring money into your household, right? If you keep on going to church, that will change your financial situation. He didn't teach you yet. The pastor didn't teach you that this is not going to change your financial situation. He's never going to teach you that. He's never going to teach you that. But he allows you to keep coming, and he asks you for the money. And yeah, you see him riding around in the big cars, and he's even trying to raise money for a jet. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're involved, but you're not benefiting, right? You're involved, but you're not benefiting. And this is kind of like going back to that banana war, in my opinion. That United Fruit Company situation did not affect. We wasn't benefiting from that. So why did you use our resources? Why did you have Congress trying to fund the Contras down there? Like, what's going on? I digress. Let's go back to Daniel Sheenan. I like what he's saying, and I love what he's about to say.
Within 6 weeks of being cut off from U.S. military aid, which originated the Iran-Contra scandal later, because the CIA people that were dedicated to trying to maintain both of those authoritarian regimes, decided to go around the fact that both of them had been ousted, basically, and they wanted to set up a covert operation to try to reinstate them, and that generated the Iran-Contra scandal, which I was involved in later.
Yeah, could you actually explain, you just explained the basics there, but the parties involved with that? Because this is another one that gets skipped over a lot, where people are like, oh yeah, Iran-Contra, CIA, Bill Casey did some, that was it. But, you had a president who at that point, there's reasonable evidence to say he already had dementia coming on. And
which time was this?
Ronald Reagan.
Well, Reagan, actually, this happened right from the very beginning, that this started under Carter, when President Carter issued the presidential executive order cutting off the military aid to Anastasio Somoza. He felt.
So here we have a federal civil rights lawyer, well known. He doesn't seem to be losing his cognition. He seems sharp as a knife. Daniel Sheenan, he's giving his version of history because he was there and he was involved. So he said, no, the Jesuit order had asked Carter to sign an executive order that would stop funding them. And he did. So again, history is somehow conflicting because when you go to the website, to the justice.gov, they're saying it was Ronald Reagan. But I'm mentioning that for a reason, because the plot thickens. Keep on listening.
From power, still back in 1978, and then in 1979, Carter cut off the military supplies to the Shah of Iran, and he fell from power in December of '79.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still under the Carter administration, and that was part of course, why they generated the October surprise, the whole effort to to get to.
Listen to this. I've never heard this in my life. I've heard of the October surprise. I didn't know what it was about. So when I say I never heard of this in my life, I just heard the phrase the October surprise. I didn't know what the October surprise was and how it came about. But as this man, attorney, federal civil rights attorney Daniel Sheenan explains in detail, because he was there, it blows my mind. Oh my God. Listen, take a listen to this.
Carter out of there because he was wreaking havoc, with the covert operations of the CIA. He was actually ousting and cutting off U.S. military funding to fascist, regimes around the country.
Because of what you did.
Well, actually, as it turns out, yes. And so the bottom line is that both of those regimes had collapsed before Reagan came in. But what happened, as people may recall, is that the 52 hostages were taken in Iran after the Shah of Iran fell. The Khomeini regime came in, and they actually, the students that were supported by the Hezbollah ended up kidnapping the 52 hostages in the American embassy and holding them hostage. So there was this long set of negotiations that were going on in the final days of the Carter administration, his first administration in 1979 and all through 1980. And what happened is President Carter had put together a task force to conduct these negotiations with the students and indirectly with the Hezbollah that were supporting them in Iran, and was on the brink of getting an agreement to get them removed. And all of a sudden, Bill Casey, who was the campaign director for the George H.W. Bush candidacy for the Republican nomination, they ended up reaching out to the Hezbollah back channel through Theodore Shackley, who was the director of covert operations under George Bush Sr. when he was the CIA director under President Ford. That they reached out to the Hezbollah and they made a deal with them, saying that if you will hold the hostages and not release them to the Carter administration, which would give him a big lift, and he might succeed in winning a second term. What they did is they said, if you'll agree to hold the hostages and therefore undermine his displayed capabilities, the Reagan-Bush administration, when we come in, will provide TOW missiles to you.
Just stop. There's too much going on. JLW, man. What do you know about what he just said, JLW? You know anything about that? Did you guys hear what he even said? Because I know he's talking in a monotone voice and you could probably get lost. What he just said was the Carter administration basically set up a task force with the students and Hezbollah that would bring the hostages home, right? Which, these are American hostages. It's a no-brainer. Like, that's what we should be doing, hands down. And then George Bush and his team, Bill Casey and them, reaches out to Hezbollah and says, don't release the hostages yet, right? Because if you release them right now, it makes Carter look good. Like, wait. If you wait until we elected, I'm going to give you missiles. Yo, these are the people that's running our country. Uncle Andy, okay. Uncle Andy's here. Now Uncle Andy's like, yo, Uncle Andy was probably there. You understand? I wasn't there. But Uncle Andy was probably a team running around, running and ripping. Huh? Now it's all coming back to him. He's like, wait a minute. Right, because I was dating Laverne while I was watching Laverne and Shirley smoking on the Mary Jane. Yeah, it's all coming back now, Saladin. You are absolutely right. Right, Uncle Andy. But this is... See? He's 58, so he definitely was running and ripping up the road around this time. You understand? Uncle Andy probably had the silk collar shirts with the collar came down ridiculously long, like for no reason way down here. My uncle had one of those shirts, Uncle Billy, right? I don't know why. Right? He used to wear the shirt, these long collared shirts, and then it wouldn't button all the way up. He'd leave it unbuttoned from here, then he's showing the chest here with his thin gold chains, you understand? This is a lot. This is too this is too much. Judge Joe Brown the other day, these are both attorneys, esquires. They have no reason to lie. Just they're getting old and they don't really care. And there was no NDA. So they're like, yeah, I'm about to, I didn't sign an NDA. You didn't require me to sign one. You never said what I couldn't tell. And I don't need this top security clearance anymore. I'm good. I don't even need it anymore. You know what I'm saying, Trisha? Too much is right. Your boy Judge Joe Brown said the FBI. He didn't say it like, I think the FBI, right? Now, he said, no, the FBI took out Martin Luther King. I'm like, what? But Daniel Sheen didn't have a lot to say about that too. So you have two attorneys that's saying that the government has something to do with taking out Martin Luther King, and we gave that man, not we, they gave that man a holiday. Yo, when I tell you this is a nefarious people, this is why I like doing these shows. I'm not going to lie to you. I already knew this type of show wasn't going to get a lot of views. But for the people that love this type of information and love this type of exposure like myself, I had to do it. I didn't care if it was 5 people in here. We'll get the numbers back up Monday. This is just crazy. And he's not done. But that bombshell just blew my mind. Like, no, you mean that I expect this I kind of expect the CIA to do something like that. And George Bush was definitely CIA. But then when he became president, why did we think for 1 second? And when his son became president, why do you think for 1 second that this is what I'm telling y'all, that he wouldn't do something nefarious? 3,000 people died in 9/11, bro. But you got to remember who you're talking to. You got to remember. These are different type of people. So if his father was willing to do something like, nah, just keep the hostages. Right? These people want to come home. I don't know how they felt about that. Like, yo, we suppose they was being sexually abused in there, like, or starved. Like, we don't know. What I do know is they wanted to come home. And then a guy come and backdoors the situation like, nah. Just keep them, and I'm going to give you some missiles. What? Bro, you didn't even offer money. You offered weapons. That's crazy. Mr. Greedy said, yo, we here, Mr. Greedy. He said knowledge is power. We here, bro. We here. Yes, Uncle Andy. So was my grandfather. Now that I remember. I remember my grandfather. may his, God bless his soul. That man did not move from that chair. He did 40 something years at Nabisco. They gave him, he retired with the gold watch. He had two churches. He he had a board, right? They read the minutes every morning out loud, how much the church made every morning. So you would do Sunday school in the morning, right? And then immediately after Sunday school was like 10:30. And then Sunday school lasted for a half an hour. And then the way Sunday school would end is the reading of the minutes. So anything that was raised last week plus this morning Sunday school, he's going to let everybody in the church know what was raised, how much is in the bank. That's how he ran his church. I never met nobody else that ran the church like that. And I probably never will again. So he was a man that believed in working. He preached because he wanted to preach. The same reason I do this here. I do this because even if I wasn't part of the program, I was going to do it, right? I left the program, the YouTube partnership program. I left, and I might leave again. I don't know. I might leave again. It depends. I give them some time to see what they up to. If I don't like what's going on, I will leave the paid partnership program again, and I will still come up here and give you guys knowledge. And it's not so much me giving you knowledge, but it's just us really vibing on, like together. Like they say, steel sharpens steel. Because I learn from you guys too, and I'm so honored and blessed to have people over here from different generations, right? People that could really talk about what was going on at the time. I love it, man. I love it. Let's get back into Daniel Sheenan. If you just tag it coming in the room right now, which you're probably not, we're listening to Daniel Sheenan, federal civil rights activist and attorney, and he's telling us about how George Herbert Bush put American hostages in jeopardy by making a deal with Hezbollah. It's crazy.
In complete violation of the ban that had been placed on him. So anyway, that they made that deal, and that was handled by Bill Casey and George Bush Sr., who was the vice presidential candidate at the time, and Theodore Shackley. They organized all of that, and so they withheld the hostages. And then you'll recall when Jimmy Carter lost the election on Inauguration Day, January 21st of 1980, there was actually a split screen of Ronald Reagan being sworn in, and the hostages walking across the tarmac and boarding a plane to be freed. In case anybody missed the direct connection that was there. And that was the so-called October surprise. And there was a book written about it by Gary Sick, who was the naval admiral who was part of the team of the National Security Council that was involved in conducting negotiations on behalf of the Carter administration. He wrote a major book exposing the fact that that was a conspiracy that was undertaken on the part of the Bush vice presidential team that Theodore Shackley was one of the advisors to. They're the ones. So it wasn't Reagan, and most everybody knows that the Reagan Bush administration, that George Bush basically ran everything.
He did.
Oh yeah, he was not only the head of the 5412 committee, which ran all covert operations in the National Security Council. He was the one that ran the savings and loan reorganization, where they started changing all the rules governing their savings and loan.
Yo, I always said that. Nobody believed me. I always said that. I say, yo, Ronald Reagan was never president. If you listen to me, you always hear me say that. I say, yo, Ronald Reagan was never president, bro. Some people don't understand what I'm saying. Why would a cowboy actor have more authority than the former director of the CIA? None of that makes sense, bro. You don't even know nobody to make things happen, bro. And you kind of look like you might be losing your mind soon. You too old. You know you not. You was never president. You was never president. Give me a second. We're gonna go back to that in a second. He was much president as this guy right here, right?
Fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we had to do with. Look,
Yo, Trump is an asshole, bro. Yo, why you looking at him like that, Trump? Yo, Trump is hilarious, bro. Hilarious.
if we finally beat Medicare,
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicaid, beat it to death.
Yo, he is hilarious, right? This is your boy.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, so I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Let's start there. Yo, Joe, I don't care what they say about you, baby. You always gave me good laughs. You understand? You always gave me good laughs. Jesus Christ.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Jesus Christ. Hilarious. And that was, you know, I kind of think they put these people there, like Reagan. They know. You guys think Reagan was the president? There's no way in the world he could be president. He could have been president. No way in the world.
Banks that didn't have to require security for the loans. He's the one that was in charge of the drug enforcement.
Wait a minute. Banks that didn't have to require security for the loans. Wow. When did he put that in place? Wow. There's a lot to unpack in this conversation. I'm going to bring that back because you might have missed that. I'm going to because I was talking, right? I'm going to bring that back like a minute.
Conducting negotiations on behalf of the Carter administration. He wrote a major book exposing the fact that that was a conspiracy that was undertaken on the part of the Bush vice presidential team that Theodore Shackley was one of the advisors to. They're the ones. So it wasn't Reagan, and most everybody knows that the Reagan Bush administration, that George Bush basically ran everything.
He did.
Oh yeah, he was not only the head of the 5412 committee, which ran all covert operations in the National Security Council. He was the one that ran the savings and loan reorganization, where they started changing all the rules governing savings and loan banks that didn't have to require security for the loans. He's the one that was in charge of the drug enforcement agency, the war on drugs. And he's the one who, of course, ran the off-the-shelf enterprise during the Reagan administration. He's the
Off-the-shelf enterprise?
That's the Colonel North, Oliver North enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
That generated the entire Iran-Contra crisis during the Reagan Bush administration. That was all coordinated through George Bush's office. Donald P. Gregg was his national security advisor, vice presidential national security advisor. He coordinated the meetings. We got the internal talking papers, that we got copies of them from the meetings that they had with George Bush Sr. and Donald Gregg, his national security advisor, along with Felix Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah, our friend Felix.
Who was running the Ilopango airlift in Ilopango in El Salvador. So we had all that information. And so that
When you say we,
there was the Christic Institute that we set up out of the Jesuit headquarters. We set up the Christic Institute when we did the Karen Silkwood case 50 years ago. It's coming up now on the anniversary.
Yeah.
It's going to be November 13th was 50 years ago that she was killed on the way to deliver the documents from the Kerr-McGee nuclear facility to the New York Times.
Yeah, we talked about
Yes.
that for people who didn't see
Yeah.
the last episode yet and are watching this. That is in
Yeah.
the last episode. It's a pretty
Yeah.
wild case. But you set up this Christic Institute. You get the relationship with Carter. We'll come back to the UFOs part with him, but you get the relationship with him before he's president.
That's right.
Through the Jesuit organization,
That's right.
effectively.
That's right.
So, it seems like faith and being a part of the Jesuit community has obviously been a huge part of your life. Did you grow up Catholic? And
Sure.
Now that you mention it, JLW, JLW says, so you're seeing the tie-in with Hezbollah. Now that you mention it, it's like, damn, bro, this is such a racket. And we keep seeing this pattern over and over again. Where the United States has relationships with both sides and then they stand back, right? They're going to give Israel funding and then they're going to act like, Israel, we stand with Israel. But they act, it's kind of like, we don't really got nothing to do with what they got going on. You got everything to do with what they got going on. At the same time, we gave a very small amount of aid, and what by small I mean like 25 million, to Palestine. How does this ever make sense? Am I the only one that is be thinking like this? Like, wait. You still give aid to Palestine? And you give military aid to Israel? But you give theirs in the billions, right? And then you give like 25 million of aid to none of this makes sense. None of it. None of it, man. It only makes sense if you start to accept the fact that this is a military war complex driven America. And that is who the Democrats really symbolize. They're not the same Democrats, right? It's kind of like, I don't think any of the parties are really the same, because you have neocons that are really on board. It's so confusing. This thing has morphed into something. That's why I don't want to be aligned with a party. I would just like to be aligned with critical thinking. Don't align me with a party, because the parties have shifted. It seems like, I don't know what you stand for anymore, but you don't stand for anything that I would like to represent. Choosy heretics. Finally, where have you been, choosy heretics? Ladies and gentlemen, Choosy Heretics is finally in the building. Choosy Heretics, man, you're gonna hate to hear this, man, but first of all, are you familiar? Who's this? What? Give me a second. Somebody just texted me. I don't know what's going on here. Sorry about that. I agree, Lee. I agree. Okay. Choosy Heretics is here. All right. Choosy Heretics. Are you familiar with Daniel Sheenan, the federal civil rights activist? Because that's who we're listening to today. And he is a member of the Jesuit order. However, I gotta say, the agendas that he was talking about fighting for, Choosy Heretics, because I know you have a issue with the Jesuit order, but it doesn't sound like he had his agendas were that bad, man. We kind of listened to them already, and just to summarize, he and the Jesuit order actually went to the Carter administration and asked that he stop funding. He immediately wrote an executive order that would stop funding these dictators over in Iran and other places, so that like stop the funding of it. And that's what he did. Carter did it, even though they tried to give the credit to Reagan and his administration, but the Reagan and his administration, we just learned, could not have been trusted because they backdoored the hostages and kept them there longer than the hostages could have came home earlier. But George Bush and his cronies reached out to Hezbollah and told them to keep the hostages until they get elected as president, and then they will give them missiles in exchange. The most ridiculous, treasonous thing I've probably heard, except his son, George Bush Jr., became president, and all of a sudden our towers were knocked down, and they blamed it on some people in the Middle East. So we can see a pattern of this family putting American people at risk continuously over and over again. You understand? Yes, Lee. Okay, Lee Mickles. I'm waiting for Choosy Heretics, because he seems to be our subject matter experts when it comes to the Jesuit order. I know a little. I'm no expert. I'm nowhere compared to what the amount of time that this person has spent researching the Jesuit order, and I know that by his comments, right? But I agree with you, Lee. That is what I know. Lee says, from my understanding, Jesuits have someone playing all sides for what I remember from the Jesuit oath. And that's what I remember from the Jesuit oath. Man, that's one disorienting vision and goal, an objective for an organization, right? But it's genius at the same time, because it's hard to put your hand on it, right? It's hard to put your hand on it because at any point in time, they can say, no, we're doing good, bro. We out here fighting a good fight. And they are. It's just that someone somewhere is fighting the negative fight too. And for all we know, George Bush Sr. and Jr. could be Jesuits, and they're fighting the negative fights, right? So it's just, that can cause psychosis. This is crazy. This is crazy, right? Now, I do believe Choosy Heretics is writing a very long comment. I'm pretty sure of it. So, in the meantime, we're going to go back listening to this audio until he responds. Shout out to Wild Country Updates is in the building. JLW says, I'll get to Israel tie in later. I have to take some meds. Be right back. Still listening. All right, yeah, please, bro. Stay safe. Glad you're still here. All right. Crank us up. Put us on the Bose. You got the Bose Bluetooth system in there? What you got going on in there? Huh? Or you got the old CD. Remember the old DVD CD surround system? That joint came with like 25 pieces. You understand? You couldn't wait for people to come over on a holiday. It was all black. The volume button turned so smooth like a Cadillac steering wheel, right? Like a Cadillac steering wheel. Huh? Everybody had that one successful person in their family. You going over there for Thanksgiving, he can't wait to show off his 25 piece audio system with the CD. Then you push a jar, you push the open button, it had 50 slots for all the DVD, CDs and all that. Huh? They thought that was big stuff. That's what you working with over there, JLW? You still on DVDs and CDs? What you got going on over there? Share it with us, bro. All right, here we go. Choosy Heretic says, all you have to do is look at Robert De Niro's speech in New York City, and it's plain to see that he's working all angles like a true Jesuit. I don't know. No. We can't do that. We can't do that, Choosy Heretics. We need more. Keynesian economics. Okay, Keynesian economics. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. You can't come in here and say Robert De Niro. But you can leave us with Keynesian economics. If nobody's window gets broken, then there's no business. I'll look it up. Understand? Let's get back to Daniel Sheenan.
Sure.
Like the Jesuit
Yeah,
sector?
I've got a sister Colleen and a brother Patty. You know, they're Irish as Patty's pig.
Yeah.
As they say. Yeah. So I was raised Catholic my whole life. You know, but I didn't go to Catholic schools. I went to regular public high schools, and went to Harvard College and stuff. So I didn't go to Jesuit schools. But I ended up, after graduating from Harvard Law School, and we talked about it, going out and practicing for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so disenchanted with what it is I was discovering about the United States government that I ended up going back to Harvard, talking to John Rawls, who was the head of the Department of Philosophy, about his book called A Theory of Justice. And he invited me to come back to Harvard to do a PhD on comparative social ethics, comparing and contrasting different worldviews in the different kind of values that they had, because I was trying to get an understanding of how people could be functioning so completely differently, myself from a lot of the other lawyers, and the kind of people that they represented, the things that they did. I thought was just completely antithetical to everything that I'd been learning as the proper ethics. And so I went back to the divinity school to do the PhD work. And that was where I got recruited by the Father Roger Couture, who was the professor that taught the course on the theological underpinnings of human rights. And he approached me at the end of the course and said he was kind of fascinated by some of the papers that I had written at that level, and wanted to know that if I was interested in being interviewed by the Jesuits, because they were establishing a new headquarters down in Washington, D.C., that all 100 provincials around the world had been called into Rome.
So he got approached by the Jesuit order, right? They seen his potential. As he will explain, all Jesuits have to have well, let him explain, because I could be spreading fallacies. But he said something about they all have to have a PhD. If you're just tapping in right now, we're listening to federal civil rights attorney Daniel Sheenan, who is not only going to talk about and has talked about the Jesuit involvement in the Iran Contra scandal, but from a good perspective, not from a negative one. Um, but he's also later, we'll get to him talking about the alien presence that the Vatican has in their archives. Now, today's show is brought to you by Beyond You TV. If you have a Roku TV, most TVs that's being sold nowadays have smart TVs, right? And they have the Roku software already on it. There's a channel called Beyond You TV, right? So do go over there, install Beyond You TV. You're gonna see all type of movies and documentaries that you can't see anywhere else, right? I hate to even tell you which ones because the algorithm will pick it up, and some of these documentaries are that strong where I don't want to get banned. You understand? So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, just go over there to Beyond You TV, and you're going to see some stuff that will really truth that will really blow your mind. Documentaries that people did that you can't see anywhere else. They banned on YouTube. You're not going to find them. So that's who's today's sponsor. This is the Poker Face Society. My name is Jamel Saladin. It's critical thinking over here, right? It's Saturday morning. I don't know what you're doing. You know, everybody's doing something different. My wife and my daughter, they're already out doing something for some kids' party. JLW is taking his medicine. You understand? I don't know what you're doing. I'm here relaxing. I kind of wish I had some more libations, but I'm okay. You understand? Because we only got 20 more minutes of the show, and I'm okay. So shout out to everyone that's involved, that's here. Choosy Heretics, I get what you're saying. If there is, so you're basically saying create the problem so they can provide the solution, right? If there's no evil, no supposed hero can show up and save the day. I totally get what you're saying, Choosy Heretics. Shout out to the praying cowboy, you understand? And shout out to everybody else that's came into the building. Let's get as much as we can in this next 20 minutes from Daniel Sheenan. We're gonna go back to listening to him on this podcast, on the Julian Dory podcast.
By the Superior General of the Jesuit Order, and they were getting set to issue a whole series of documents on social justice, 32nd General Congregation documents, they called them, declaring that the members of the Jesuit Order in the Catholic Church would have an obligation every day to take active steps to deconstruct the sources of injustice, both in Western civilization and in Eastern civilization, because otherwise we were potentially going to have a major thermonuclear war between the superpowers. And so that they believed that their job was to deconstruct the structural sources of injustice. And that actually said that it was their obligation to do something every single day to help deconstruct those sources of injustice, equal to their obligation of preaching the Mass each.
Now, if you're listening, this is the Jesuit order that's approaching Daniel Sheenan, and in whatever faction of the Jesuit order that approached him, they're saying, yo, it is our duty to de-escalate these situations that's driving the earth in the wrong direction. All of this nuclear war and all of that, we are here to oppose that. So many of us, after reading the Jesuit oath, we were under the impression that the Jesuit vision and objective is kind of like unilateral. It's not unilateral. It's like multilateral. It can go in any direction, right? You could be for good objectively. You could be for bad objectively. But it's all, from our understanding, it's allegedly, right? I'm not a Jesuit. I'm just telling you what I read. And if I'm doing critical thinking, how do I know that's not propaganda that was put out there for me to read and throw me off? You understand? So I have to question even what I read, even when I think it's a good source. And I've tried to look up plenty of sources on this oath, right? I've looked, even though I have like two, I still keep looking up sources because I want to know if this is real or not. All right, easy, choosy, easy. Choosy heretics gets he gets his blood boiling. Easy, easy, cowboy. We want to have rational discussions. I didn't want to trigger you. You go off on a rampage. Let's finish listening to Daniel.
Day.
Mm.
So it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And so
I'll
that
say.
so I had just gone to the divinity school to do the reflecting on the comparative social ethics, but I ended up getting contacted and asked if I would be allowed myself to be interviewed for that post, and I did. And so they immediately asked me to go to Washington and to help head up that office on social ministry. So that's how I got there.
Yeah, it's fascinating to get that background because I always find especially when you have the collision of like religion and aliens in these conversations, it can get sometimes like they fly right in the face of each other. Other times they get combined in people's thoughts. But to bring it back to Carter, then when you were called in by him after he was elected to help in this process where he was trying to get information from Congress because the CIA wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
You had said yesterday when we recorded the previous episode that you had thought about aliens when you were growing up, but it wasn't, it's not like every single day you were studying all of it.
No.
But, at this point now you're starting to, as a lawyer on behalf of the president, go digging for the biggest secrets that could exist.
Well, it was interesting that it happened indirectly. It was through Rosemary Chalk I mentioned, I think yesterday, that Rosie Chalk, she was the executive secretary for the National Academy of Sciences, and she's the one that asked me whether I'd be interested in getting contacted by the study that the president had asked to have put together. And the Congressional Research Service had already been tasked by the president to do this investigation for them in a research project. And then they reached out to me. Dr. Marshall Smith, who was the head of the Science and Technology Division, called me on the phone, who was a friend of Rosemary Chalk, and asked if I would be interested in participating. And I got it cleared with the superiors at the Jesuit headquarters. They thought this was an important issue. And
They did.
Oh, yes. And that was really interesting. When I told them that I'd been asked to be a special counsel, I talked to Father Bill Davis, who was my immediate superior, who was the director of the social ministry office. We had organized an assistant provincial for.
So if we learn nothing else, we now know that the Jesuit order is not a conspiracy theory, right? Because a lot of times, see, I appreciate his dialogue because it shows when people don't know what's going on, even the structure of something, I think they come up with their own answers to things, right? Because they don't know what's going on, things that are secret and secret knowledge, esoteric knowledge. And then they come up with their own idea of what's going on in these places. However, Daniel Sheenan is providing a level of transparency that eliminates our imaginations from just running off at the races, right? He's if you're listening to the conversation, you can cognitively put together the infrastructure on how this organization is kind of built, right? He's talking about people he had to answer to. He's talking about titles, right? He's talking about an interview process. He's talking about him actually being a diplomat for the Jesuit order and being elected to go sit with the government. And obviously they have a lot of they have a strong relationship with the American government at minimum. We don't know how many other governments right now. So let's just keep listening and see what we can learn from this conversation. I may stay a little bit longer. You understand? I do have to jet out, but I'm kind of really appreciating all of you people here spending your Saturday morning with me, sharing all of this information. It's like a treasure trove of information. I just read Choosy Heretic's his comment. He said that's where my trouble started at the local venue was with Ronald Reagan's funeral at the happy hour at the bar. Like what? We have people, like we have several people that were there here with us in the Poker Face Society. That's crazy. Right? JLW. I don't know if you guys are reading JLW's comments. Mind blowing, right? The only thing I don't like, what I hate is that when I hit the end on this live, you don't see any of these comments, right? So it's kind of hard. So to go back and kind of see what that person was saying, man. And I swear to you, they do this on purpose, man. It just sucks. But let me drop the Discord one more time. I'm gonna drop the Discord right there. You guys could whoever's watching right now, please save that link. Come over to our Discord. Any information that you guys have that you may feel more comfortable sharing on the Discord, please. I'm gonna start really revisiting and watching the Discord and waiting for you guys' information because I'm really intrigued, man. JLW, I definitely want to hear more about this Unit 8200. Yes, Praying Cowboy. Yep, we got that. The Pope is the boss and the Black Pope is over the... Yes, we got that. Yep. He goes into that. He breaks that down. Let me finish that. I just wanted to reset the show real quick. So I'm gonna let him get back to that and kind of break that stuff down. You understand?
For each of the 10 provinces of the United States to be our board of directors. So we had a board to go to. So Father Davis went to the board, the 10 assistant provincials for social justice, and they all agreed that this was an important issue. That obviously if the president of the United States wanted to have information about the UFO issue, they realized that this was an extraordinarily important issue, and I was authorized to participate. So that's how it started. And then when I was asked to when Dr. Marshall Smith asked me to contact the Vatican to see whether we could get access, whether the Jesuit headquarters could get access to the archives.
When was this?
This was in January of 1977,
Okay.
right after, just after the inauguration.
So in coordination with all this stuff you're doing with Carter, this is a part of it.
Yes, yeah, and so I ended up going back to the headquarters and saying, look, I've been asked by Dr. Marshall Smith to contact the Vatican to see if we could get access to the archives, anything they had in the archives about the UFO phenomenon or the extraterrestrial civilization that was assumed to be responsible for the UFOs. That went back to the provincials, and they agreed to have us write the letter. So we wrote the letter out of the Jesuit headquarters to the Vatican, asking for access to the information about the UFOs in the Vatican archives.
What was that conversation like, though, with I forget his name, Father John Daly?
Father Bill Davis.
Bill Davis. Yeah,
Well, it was fun.
Not the golfer John
No.
Daly.
No, it's funny. Bill Davis was interesting. The Jesuits are interesting guys. I found,
I've heard.
They all have at least one PhD. It's a requirement, a condition precedent for being in the society. Many of them have more than one PhD.
So I wasn't bugging there. It is a requirement to have a PhD if you're going to be in the Jesuit order, right? Yeah. Listen, JLW, you here now, bro. So it's not a rush. It's not a rush. Take your time. Get well soon. You understand? You are here now. And we appreciate you over here. That's the biggest thing. Um, there's a treasure trove of information that you have that I'm interested in. So take your time. If you need me to create a channel, let me know. This way it's not hidden and convoluted. Give me some suggestions what I should call the channel in the Discord. And then you could drop it there. And I want to hear more about the Verizon stuff he was talking about. I want to hear more about the Unit 82, the stuff he was talking about. The remote viewing stuff. Is that Project Stargate, by the way? When you say remote viewing, are you talking about Project Stargate when the United States, or Operation Stargate, when the United States were hiring psychics and channelers? Are you talking about that part? Let me know. And I think he is, because he mentions ESP remote viewing stuff in G&T. So I think he is talking about that. Okay, he says yes, that's what he's talking about. At that time, they didn't tell him this is Operation such and such, right? He would not have been privy to that information, right? These are declassified documents now. That's why we even know the name of these projects and these operations, right? Yeah, I get it. I'm with you. Wow. But as you know, like I said, you have to have a PhD to get in the Jesuit order. Just in case you was thinking about being an initiate, Dwayne Wade, I don't know what fraternity he's trying to get in. The basketball player from the Heat, he's disgusting. He's been trying to get into some type of Illuminati program for so long. He just does whatever they say, right? He's out here. He sacrificed his son. His son is a whole little boy who dresses like a girl now. Poor fathering, Dwayne Wade, by the way. I think you should die with shame, right? You didn't even try. You just sacrificed your child over to the powers that be. And then you yourself, you've been out here doing the most, very metrosexual. And if it wasn't synthetic, I think I would just let you live, right? But I don't believe your heart. I don't believe in your heart you were truly interested in being a transgender. I don't think you really care for transgender. I think this is something to get you in there, some type of secret society. You understand? That's what I think. Either way, I think your behavior is deplorable. What's some other words I would like to use that I haven't used in a while? Reprehensive. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounds like a word I should be using right now. Yeah, this is what I'm saying, Dwayne Wade's the worst, bro. Him and Gabby Union, like, what are y'all doing? Remember when Gabby Union took a picture with the surrogate kids, and she got in a robe and they put water on her face like she was sweating, and took a picture with the surrogate kids in a hospital bed? Yeah, these people are out to lunch, bro. Y'all remember that? Oh, my wife was disgusted, bro. My wife was disgusted because my wife had given birth. She's like, oh no, you out here fronting? My wife, who doesn't like to listen, waited to the last minute to ask for an epidural, and it was too late. So, yeah, fun times, right? when she did ask for it, the dude, they said he was close by. I don't know how close by he was. I could swear to God I remember him coming in with a sandwich that he just finished, but maybe that's capped. But they did say he just got off for lunch, right? He took so long to come, and then all of that, and it was like, yeah, we can't really give it to you now. So she had to just do that, and I'm like, yo, I told you we should have took this, and not by we, I mean you should have took the damn epidermal earlier than this, right? You was trying like, no, I don't need it right now. Yo, that was something crazy. That was something crazy. Yo, GTM was good, bro. Yeah, I liked him as a ball player, right? I liked him as a ball player. Even though I think he could have tried to stay captain of the Heat longer, but I guess he had to give it up to King. You know what I'm saying? LeBron's James. But him in his personal life, I'm like, oh, you was a sellout. I can't rock with you, bro. Yeah, I think all of us, that's all of us, JLW. That's all of us.
Actually. So they have to go through the entire undergraduate school, and of course, they've been around since 1547.
Mm-hmm.
And so that early requirement that they have these academic credentials was absolutely unique in Western civilization. I mean, the level of education that they have. They run 28 universities in the United States,
Including Georgetown.
that's right, including Georgetown. They also are the primary scholars at the Vatican. They're the theologian scholars. They also run the many of the pontificates, the papal commissions. They're the leading diplomats primarily for the Vatican State. They're extraordinarily highly trained professionals, and they do a lot of the intelligence work, actually, for the Vatican.
Yeah, what is that? When you say intelligence work, what in 2024? What does that mean?
Well, it's like the Vatican is the Vatican State. They're actually a national sovereignty, and that they have diplomatic corps. They have ambassadors.
Another thing, don't let AI trick you. Washington, D.C. has also a different status. They have a special status. They're not part of the 50 states, right? They will never, if you look this up, the AI is going to try to deny all of these things. But when it comes down to it, Washington, D.C. is a foreign entity. They're going to say they're not foreign because they're on United States soil. But they are their own nation. But they're going to say they're not. I hate the way they use language in this country to really try to confuse you, man. And you'll never know what's going on. Anyway, that's just a seed. We'll get more into that conversation a little bit later. I just wanted you to know that.
To each of the different countries, and they have an intelligence service, and it's mostly Jesuits that are, because a lot of it is analysis, foreign policy analysis, international analysis, history studies they need to do, so that the Jesuits perform this kind of service for the Vatican, for the Pope. They work directly under the Pope. They're not under the authority of the Vatican. I mean, most people don't realize that.
Really?
The Jesuit order is the only one that they're directly accountable to the Pope.
So if you hear what he's saying, listen close. He said the Jesuit order is not under the authority of the Vatican. And by that, he's about to explain there's a hierarchy structure when it comes to the Vatican that leads to the Pope. The Jesuit order cuts out all of that nonsense, and the only people they have to answer to, is the Pope. That's it. Oath of induction. Now, is this oath of induction? Do you guys believe that this oath of induction is real? It appears that this oath of induction is legit and valid, right? And the reason I'm asking that is because if you've ever read the Jesuit oath of induction, it is pretty unbelievable what they are proposing, right? Smashing the heads of little children of their enemies. And it is not something that you would expect to read from a religious organization. Let's just say that. So, I would like to ask you guys, do you think this oath is a legit oath, or do you think it was just kind of put out there to spin us off? Praying Cowboy, are you from Louisiana? What state? Where you from? Praying Cowboy. He says I was likely identified as potential for some of the more out there from the day I enrolled in public schools. Mississippi. I've been to Mississippi once. Mississippi is one of those states, man. I don't know how people could have stayed there during the civil rights era, right? Like, I don't know, man. That's one of those states, man. Woof. Jackson, Mississippi. Yeesh. I've been there once. I guess it's all the propaganda about Mississippi that got me, like, you had the movie Mississippi Burning. That movie didn't do anybody any good, right? Anytime you even see that movie come on TV, you just pissed off right away. So, I'm with you, Choosy Heretics. It says, my forte is being a trained therapeutic thinker, and I'm good at seeing patterns, and identifying the historical solid principles. Oh, that's amazing right there. That's solid right there. That's what I'm talking about. JLW, you onto something. Right? We'll talk about it. A lot of these children were used in the MK Ultra program. I've always said Adam Lanza looked drugged up. Is it just me? But if you look at the shooter from the movie theaters, and where's the other place? Where did they shoot at that movie theater? He has the same look that Adam Lanza has on. I won't get into that topic because they roasted Alex Jones on that topic. So there's certain things I would just stay away from, and that's why they do it, right? They make example out of people like Alex Jones so that other people won't even have those type of conversations. But let me tell you something. it doesn't make sense for me to have that conversation right now, and I'm only reaching 14 people, and then I get my channel taken away. You understand? I have to like resist the impulse to just say screw them, anti-regime. I'm going to talk about it anyway. They shut my page down. No, why didn't I wait till I got like 1 million subscribers or 500,000? Right? So Candace Owens could do stuff like that. She could go off the rails anytime she feels like it, and because she has a strong subscriber base where it's gonna like I have to wait basically, right? Now we're not gonna be total suckers over here, but we're just gonna choose our battles wisely. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna choose because it's not the time. I have low numbers, right? I only got 30. What do I have? 3,500. I just got 3,600 people, right? Which recently, using the political algorithm, I gained like 1,000 freaking people in under 28 days. So that's great, right? Thanks to you guys, right? So starting Monday, we'll be back on the political. We're going to use them again and see what we could get out of them next week, right? Obviously, they wasn't pushing this morning. It's okay though because we're still learning. We're still having a good time. I want to finish listening to this guy because I'm learning a lot listening to this guy, and that's way more valuable than just random numbers and everything like that. Like I'm listening to this guy Daniel Sheenan, and a lot of this stuff I did not know. So if you're just tapping in, he's about to really detail what the hierarchy entails when it comes to the Jesuit order.
Himself, directly.
So that,
each of them.
but that feels like semantics because that feels like the same thing.
No, it's different because there's two different structures. There's the structure in the Catholic Church where you have the local parish priest is like a private. Then they have a Monsignor in some of the parishes who is like a corporal. Then they have the assistant bishops who are like the first officers. You have a lieutenant. Then you have the bishops that are like captains. You have the archbishops that are like colonels. Then you have the general officers that are the cardinals. And then you have the conclave of the cardinals that come all together. That is like a major cabinet, if you will, for the Pope. And so that there's a whole military structure to that order, but the Jesuits are not involved in that. The Jesuits are completely separate. The Jesuits don't run parishes. They don't run parish churches. They're professionals. They're lawyers and doctors and scientists and diplomats and other trainings that they have their PhDs in, and they answer directly to the Pope.
All the types of jobs that make society go, if you will.
Yeah, or make a nation state go. And so that they're the lawyers and they're the doctors and they're the scientists and the scholars for the most part. They run the universities, etc. And so that when I was asked to become general counsel for their American headquarters, I thought that was a worthy kind of post. I thought it was an extraordinarily interesting position to be in. We had access then to the Jesuits in 43 different countries that were provided intelligence to our office. We got to meet with them. Father Bill Davis has been in every one of the 43 countries where all the Jesuits are. He was the photographer for the Jesuit magazine. That America magazine was their like Time magazine that they have, a monthly magazine, and that he was the principal photographer for them prior to being the head of the social ministry office. So I was out in Washington. There I was in Washington D.C. In that position. I became a member of the bar of Washington, in addition to being a member of the bar of the Southern District of New York. And so I was functioning as legal counsel in that office. So I got to formulate proposed policies with regard to all 15 of the major cabinet positions on defense policy, international policy, foreign policy, economic policy.
Wait, in the U.S. government?
In the U.S. government, yeah.
That's crazy. So that kind of corroborates what Choosy Heretics is saying. So even though Choosy Heretics, we may read his comments and he seems a bit extreme, but if you're reading his comments, then you kind of know like he's been, his own experiences, right? As we all have, right? He's just being transparent about his, right? Uh, he said the things that kind of kept him going was videos about addiction, so we can just logically gather that there's some type of relationship with addiction in his life. But this is called being a human being, right? So there may be reasons that he comes off extreme about the Jesuit order, right? I don't stop him. He comes in here and he does his thing in the chat. And but now we can get a better idea of the things that he's sharing. Now, one of the things that he shares is that the Jesuits are all through the government and they have a lot of influence. And Daniel Sheenan is not denying that. He himself says he's partaking in domestic and foreign policy on behalf of the Jesuit order in a partnership. He didn't use the word partnership. It just sounds like there's a partnership going on somewhere between the Jesuit order and the American government. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, why not? If we, all out of all the nefarious stuff that's going on, we learned this morning George Bush backdoored us, the American, backdoored us. This guy later became president, He was vice president, then became president, then his son became president. And let me tell you, every time these people were involved in any capacity, something nefarious has happened. Something nefarious has happened. George Bush has been around since the assassination of JFK. It is just my assumption this is not a good family, that Bush family. They're just not good. Right? We have 14 minutes left. I am leaving at 2:30 on the dot. I gotta go handle some business. Plus, there's a empanada downstairs in my refrigerator that's calling my name. These are the facts.
What do you mean you got to format policy for those?
For the Jesuit order, for what we would propose.
What you would want.
Yeah, what we would
Okay,
say.
got
We say, was it this say here, you're asking for, $800 billion for military. We'd say that we don't believe that's a just position, that's way too much military emphasis, that, you need to have more funds for PL 480, which is sharing excess agricultural products in the United States with people that are dying of starvation.
This doesn't sound like a bad thing. Right? But again, we've already established that the Jesuit order might have people working both sides. All I'm saying is Daniel Sheenan may have been working the good side. And I think he was. That's what I'm coming to the conclusion that Daniel Sheenan was in the Jesuit order, but he was on a side that was working for the American people and for the globe, because they weren't only suggesting domestic policy, but also foreign policy. As you just heard him say, listen, you want $800 million for war? Nah, that's too much money. How about you take some of that money and you put it towards mankind? Oh, that is admirable. I don't know about you guys, but that's admirable. Let's keep going.
Around the world, for example, that we should have increased Social Security for our people. We should have better medical benefits, et cetera. We were involved in a social ministry and we were advocating that is an integral aspect of the Judeo-Christian social ethics, which is part of what I was studying at Divinity School.
Were you guys like registered lobbyists on K Street kind of deal,
No.
or is this because you're a religious organization you can have?
That's right. You don't need to be registered as lobbyists at all.
Okay.
No.
But when you had this conversation with
Father Davis.
Father Davis,
Yeah.
and he says, "Yeah, go for it. Help out Carter with UFOs.
Yeah.
Was there any type of philosophical conversation about like, well, wait a minute, what does this mean for our religion?
Well, it was interesting. At that point, it was such an obvious, great position to be in, to be able to do that. I hadn't been asked yet, but I was shortly thereafter. I was asked by Dr. Marcia Smith to do a seminar for the top 50 scientists in SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, out of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. And they asked if I would go and deliver a closed-door seminar for them. And then we began to have these intense discussions at Jesuit headquarters, saying, okay, you've got your undergraduate degree in American constitutional law and stuff, in history and political science from Harvard, and you got your law degree from Harvard Law School and in American constitutional law and foreign policy and stuff. But you've just started your PhD work on theology at the Divinity School. You haven't completed that yet, so we have to have some discussions about, if you're going to be asked to deliver a 3-hour seminar to the top 50 scientists at SETI, what are we going to be saying here theologically? What's essential to understand is that theology, at its very highest levels, has to do with the extraordinarily subtle realms of science. This is a science that we're dealing with here. The faculties that our human species is capable of, that are part of the entire religious traditions of
Stop right then and there, right? He's talking about a science. Did you hear what he just said? I think he phrased that perfectly. The faculties that our human existence is capable of. And this is why they want a nation of workers and not thinkers, right? So they don't give you the knowledge. You don't have any idea what your body is truly capable of. They do. This is why they want to poison your body, allegedly. I don't know what I could get in trouble for right now, but because this may be disinformation or misinformation. However, I do believe that getting Robert Kennedy Jr. in office is a good thing, because I do believe that he is going to really attack those agencies and be a good watchdog, because we've been taken advantage of way too long, right? There's just chemicals that were unnecessary put in our food. There's chemicals that had adverse effects that either made us obese or gave us other ailments, and no one has stopped anything. No one stopped and said, not in this country. However, there's like 22 ingredients that are allowed in our food that are banned in other countries, including Canada. So you have the spineless Justin Trudeau that even knows, like, nah, I don't think we're gonna poison our people like that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we may do some other things, but America, you are tripping. Have you no God? Have you no empathy, sympathy, morality, principles? Like, you have nothing. The way you keep on sacrificing your citizens over and over again. All right, we got 7 minutes left. Again, if you want to go listen to that interview, you can check it out on the Julian Dory podcast. It's a 3-hour podcast. I can't do 3 hours. We just did the first half an hour. What I do want to do, you're right, GTM. You're right about the cereal. What I do want to do is talk about the fact that the American government just set us up for failure. And for all those people that were voting for Kamala Harris, and this administration, they showed their true colors. And by that, I mean, they just put you at risk. You don't even know it. You have no idea. So all you older people that was talking that Democrat talk, and they're going to take your Social Security away, how are you going to feel now that they let in 20 million migrants and they stop funding these migrants? They stop giving them food. They stop They're not going to be funding them, and they're not going to give them shelter. They're not going to give them food. You're on your own, and that's just wild and crazy for these people to get over here. And you say, yeah, you guys are on your own now. What are you talking about? It was too easy for us to get over here. Now, what I was telling everybody before, but you was ignoring me because you was more interested in transgender business, right? And we'll watch a couple of videos before we get out of here. I said our economic infrastructure is not set up to really provide for these people. It's not about being racist or ignorant or non-compassionate, but just logically, we're not set up for that. Sorry, you had a country that you came from. I need you to go back there, right? Now America just brought them here and they abandoned them in your cities, right? Let's see how this works out. The whole time they was doing that, they was trying to take your guns. What sense do that make? It sounds like they was trying to set you up to me, because I live in the mountains and I have guns, and you're not getting my guns. But I got a better chance of seeing migrants try to run up the hill and me and my daughter plucking them down. Get out of here, you're not getting my food, right? And you better believe, because I don't have no raw chicken. By my neighbors, even the eggs we got last week, we didn't go to the supermarket and buy those. We bought those from our neighbor, right? That's where I'm living at. We go right down, walk down the street, we get our eggs from our neighbor. Does that mean migrants can't make their way? No. They will. But we got guns. We got guns in these mountains. And the government tried to take these guns. They did. Knowing they was going to pull a stunt like this. Knowing they was going to let in 20 million migrants, and then, was it a good time while they was here? They had thousands of dollars on these EBT cards and thousands of dollars on the Visa card, and they was living the life. They was all up in the Waldorf Astoria, huh? They was outside smoking the pot, the government pot. It was beautiful times. And then, as they see themselves losing the election, they just leave them and say, hey, well, it's over now. It's over. That's crazy. So let's see how this turns out for everybody. All right, let's end our show with a couple of videos that I watched last night. Here goes one. This is crazy. Not the fake fruit.
Fake fruits caught on camera.
So I cut watermelon for my kids, and they're all bringing it right back, saying they don't like the texture. I've seen enough videos of people posting rubbery watermelon. I can't believe I got one. I got a rubbery watermelon. The texture is so weird. Like, you gotta bend it so far before it will break.
So my mother was showing me that she opened a banana that she thinks that these are not real bananas. We got it from the supermarket, but when she opens it and she breaks it in half, it gets very tough and doesn't really break. And when it pulls, it's like it's glue. It's very tight and doughy.
We better pay attention, man. We gotta really pay attention to what's going on in this country. I can't believe we spent that much time on transgenders, bro. And I cannot believe the amount of people who voted for that, for any administration that was pushing that. Like, you guys are wild and so easily manipulated, all because she was saying she was black. That's crazy, huh?
1933 is when they started monetizing us and pledging us as collateral for the debt. Now, to register, the word register means to abandon. And when you register a car or a birth or a house, you're giving it to the government. You're giving your legal title to the government, and you only retain equitable title, which means that you have the use of that property. The government allows you to use it, thinking that you own it. Clear evidence of this is anyone who owns a house, look at their mortgage, and you're referred to as the tenant, not the owner, the tenant. If you think you own your house, you're mistaken. Same with your car. The reason why they can impound your car is because you registered it, and under maritime admiralty salvage laws, they come along and they adopt it. In the case of the birth registry, they adopt the abandoned child. 1933 is what.
You can take what you want from that.
I know nobody will listen to me. All you gotta do is stay away.
Remember I was telling you she didn't run on anything? This one is crazy right here. Who is this? Megan Thee Stallion? She had some female rapper, right?
Stop, 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 stop. I get money, I'ma stop, yeah. Yeah. Hey, hey. お金稼ぐ俺らはスター。スター、スター、スター。
Shameful, man. That's what you really thought you was gonna win off transgenders and Megan Thee Stallion shaking her rump at you. I can't believe y'all really thought this was gonna even work. That's just crazy talk. Those are the only ones I want to show right now. Those are the only ones I want to show right now. The other ones is not relevant. All right. So that's my show for today. I gotta run out and go handle some business. Not that I want to. I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm tired. Got in late last night. Got up early to do this. But Monday we right back on the horse Monday. I can't tell you what I'm talking about yet, but we right back there. You don't want to miss that. Remember, today's show is brought to you by Beyond You TV. If you do have a Roku television in your house, or you know anybody with a Roku television in their house, then what you can do is you can add the Beyond You TV. Not Beyond You, because there's an app called Beyond You. That has nothing to do with Beyond You TV. Beyond You TV will allow you to watch all of these documentaries that's kind of banned on other like YouTube, and they won't get. I can't even tell you what it's about. That's how crazy YouTube is. They don't want me to even say certain words. So what I do is I redirect you over there, and you will get that information over there as you watch these documentaries. All right. So please go over there and do that. That being said, you guys have a blessed day. What time is it, man? Yeah, it's 11:30. It's about time for me to get up out of here and go handle some business. Thank you for coming through, everybody. I don't want to start naming names because I really did appreciate everybody coming over. That being said, I'll see y'all Monday. Peace out.